Forspoken will definitely make the list for one of the worst releases of 2023, and there's nothing they could have done to save it. The technical problems could have been patched, but the awful dialogue and bad characters weren't savable. And of course, recently I talked about how Square Enix shut down Luminous Productions over the game's failure, but taking a closer look at the player numbers proves even more how terribly this game went for them, and it also raises the question, will they really put more content out for this title? I have a bunch of things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon or a supporter via YouTube memberships. So, I wanted to, talk about the initial situation a couple of days ago where Square Enix announced the studio behind Forspoken will be basically shut down and they will be, moving those developers back into, different developmental arms. But I also wanted to talk about these Steam charts because I haven't really been taking a close look at them. I haven't really been watching them, but after seeing them now, it really raises the question, will they actually put out more content for this game? Because they talked about, how they're going to still do the DLC, and they have a lot of patches and updates to do. But when there's less than, 200 people playing a game on, one of the two platforms it released on, it really raises a lot of questions. So I did put up an individual video on this a couple of days ago, but I thought that I'd quickly skim through this article. It says Square Enix snuffs out Luminous, the studio behind Forspoken. It says Luminous Productions, the team behind this year's powerfully middling Forspoken, is going quietly into that good night. In a tweet posted, the studio announced that beginning on May 1st, it would join Square Enix to deliver new, innovative gaming experiences across the globe. In other words, it's being folded into its parent company and ceasing to exist as a separate entity. Now, I personally did not play Forspoken. This was a game that when they announced it a year and a half ago and it was still called Project Athia, I was actually pretty interested in it. I thought that it looked pretty neat, the combat looked good, but when it came time to, release the full game, I personally passed on it because it seemed like there were a ton of problems with it. First of all, it seemed like there were a lot of technical difficulties that this game was facing, and I just don't think that developers deserve $70 when a game is as broken as Forspoken seemed to be. But also there were core issues with this game, like the story. Story seemed very generic, the characters seemed extremely annoying, and overall the writing seemed pretty poor. Of course, we've heard, from Square Enix several times that they don't want to just make games for one group of people, but for the globe. They want to make their games appeal to a global audience, and this game definitely felt like that. It was a team of Japanese developers who were trying to create a Western game. I mean, this title definitely felt like they were trying to Westernize their concept with the characters and the dialogue, and it just didn't pay off for them. Basically everybody ended up hating this title. But now, unfortunately for Luminous and the people behind, the studio, they are being folded back into Square Enix. And these were individuals who already worked for Square Enix. These people primarily worked on Final Fantasy 15. And they basically just formed this new studio to make new, fresh IPs, but unfortunately for them, their first attempt was their only attempt. We knew that Forspoken did pretty poorly, just judging by the reception of fans and consumers. People were not very entertained with this game, and of course the user scores are abysmal, but in this initial statement, they said that they have a lot of things planned. They are working on the upcoming DLC in Tanta We Trust, and it's on track for release this summer. They also talk about how they have patches in the works, and that sounded great because obviously we don't want developers to feel like they can just straight up abandon a game if it doesn't sell the way that they expected. But judging the Steam chart numbers, I don't understand why they are going to release more content for this game. So as you can see, these are the Steam player chart numbers. 249 people playing 17 minutes ago in the past 24 hours. The peak was 275, and the all-time peak was a measly 9,824 people. Now, of course, this was a PlayStation 5 exclusive, so a lot of the players probably were on PlayStation, but usually Steam charts are similar in number. They're pretty close. It's not like there's, 10,000 people playing on the PC and, 5 million people playing on the PlayStation. Usually they're pretty close when we eventually hear the numbers, a few months out, but we already know this game has sold poorly across the board because it's only a month and a half after release. They've already shut down the studio, the game has already gone on sale, and, well, the Steam chart numbers definitely look bad. And of course, keep in mind that this game has been out for a month and a half, so numbers are going to drop with single-player games because people play through the title once, and then they put it down, and then they don't touch it again until there's new DLC or big updates. But it's still so close to release that the numbers should not be this low. So in another half a month, when it's hit the 2-month number, it's probably going to be down to like under 200, maybe even like 150 players active at a time, which definitely is not good. It is unfortunate that this game failed so much because the combat actually looked really interesting. It's just everything else with this title that was the problem. And looking at the Metacritic numbers, a 63 critic, a 1.7 user score. The numbers could really not get much worse for the user scores. I mean, hitting a 1.7 is only saved for the worst games, and this game happened to hit it, so it doesn't look like the future of Forspoken is gonna be very positive. Again, they are talking about doing this DLC. I just don't really see a point when there's 250 people playing your game, but only time will tell. Maybe they will continue to come out with content for this title, or maybe they will drop it now that this studio has been shut down. Only time will tell. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this and found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.